I watched MechMania, and I liked it, and I think you'll like it too. Maybe. So, if you are a relatively in-the-know UK Robot Combat fan, you'll probably know about Mech Plus, a streaming service that I think is owned by Passion Distribution, which are the same people who do all the distribution for like Robot Wars and stuff like that. They have a bunch of stuff on their service, but their main thing that they're advertising is Robot Wars and Robot Wars adjacent stuff. They have like Robot Rebellion, they got Robot Wars Revealed, they got Techno Games, they got fucking Dutch Robot Wars, if you want to watch Dutch Robot Wars. Yeah, they got a whole bunch of shit. And in the last year or so, we've been hearing about this thing called MechMania, which is sort of the spiritual successor to Robot Wars. Like, it's basically Robots Live in television form, which may be exciting for some people, but maybe not so much for others. You know, it's up to you whether you care about that. Like, if you're a hardcore, like, oh, we want full combat, we want this fucking... we want spinners and fucking axes that will literally kick the shit out of you. We want like shatter type axes. We want fucking egg beaters and all that stuff. It's not going to be for you. It's basically a televised version of a Robots Live event, which is a sportsman event. So it's not going to be for everybody. However, knowing that, I think it's still quite entertaining, which I was quite satisfied about. I actually found myself liking a fair amount of the fights. Like, okay, not all the fights were bangers. Like, I didn't think there was anything particularly groundbreaking about any of the fights that were happening, but like, there were points in the show where I was genuinely quite surprised. I was just like, yeah, Jesus, this is actually quite nice. This is quite good. That being said, I feel like there's still a lot of teething problems. A lot of it for me is like cosmetic and the execution of certain jokes they try to do. Like, there's a lot of little edits where there's little memes and stuff and sound effects that they play in certain aspects, which sometimes hit better than others, and other times don't really hit as well as I would have hoped. Hopefully, if they decide to continue with this sort of formula, they'll be able to hit better. I felt like editing-wise, there was also moments musically that sort of didn't make sense or felt a bit sort of sluggish and slow and a bit like not enough care was put into it. Like, naturally with the budget of 0, you're probably going to use some sort of stock music, which like is fine, but I felt like the execution of a lot of that stock music was quite inconsistent. Like in the last episode, there was a fight where they had this quite triumphant music playing throughout, and it just sort of was like playing in the background, not really doing anything. There wasn't any sort of stops or anything like that, which I thought was a bit weird and a bit disjointed and a bit like, come on. Like, I think some more care put into like those little things could have been really beneficial towards the show. If I were to put my 2 cents on it, I think keep with the stock music. Don't fucking break the bank to make an original soundtrack. Like, choosing a royalty-free track and have that be like the designated battle music, I think could have helped with the identity of the show, which is something that I find that a lot of Robot Combat shows sort of struggle with. At least if you're comparing it to classic Robot Wars, which I feel like has the strongest identity of them all. Things sort of pertaining to that, I think it's just more presentation-wise that I had issues with rather than the show itself. Like, I think given the circumstances of where UK Robot Combat is and where Combat Robots is in televised form at the moment, I think putting more care into little things like that, I think really could definitely benefit the show, because I think it deserves that. The fights themselves, like I said, not groundbreaking by any stretch of the matter, but considering 1/6 of the field is iron ores or iron ore adjacent, I was actually quite surprised. Okay, there were points where the fights were just kind of naff, like as most combat robot shows and events tend to be, but it was good. I was actually quite surprised. When you're watching like a UK live event, you sort of have to sort of temper your expectations because of the fact it's a sportsman event and because of the fact that there's no money going into a lot of these events, or barely any money. Like, the people who are working on these events and are putting in the hard work are just super fans who want the sport to survive. Given the fact that a lot of the fights were all right, decently entertaining given the material conditions of UK robot combat, I was quite surprised. Like, Robots Live, if you were to compare it to Extreme Robots, like, Extreme Robots tends to very much advertise the idea of like, look, we've got spinners, we can do spinners. Like, do you want to see Zadkiel kick ass every week? Come to Extreme Robots. Not to go too deeply into it, but considering how aggressively Extreme Robots tends to advertise them and how, at least on the surface, how they seem to react to MechMania as a concept and when it was announced, and how they've tried to sort of advertise Extreme Robots against MechMania.
Alright, bot fans, I'm using this part to elaborate on my point. What I mean by Extreme Robots advertising almost against Robots Live is that I feel like their whole deal as of recent is the thing that they're advertising is almost like a knee-jerk reaction to what Robots Live and Mech Plus and MechMania are doing. It just sort of feels a bit petty. Like, I would have liked to have them both team up together so that they can be this one UK robot combat homunculus that can work together, but there seems to be some sort of nuance or some sort of reason why they're separate, and that's kind of a shame. And I don't like how Extreme Robots is so vehement in advertising themselves almost out of spite against Robots Live rather than just advertising as their own thing. Like, who's gonna make an account on XRTV? Like, let's be honest, who the fuck's gonna do that?
I think Robots Live really holds its own. Like, I feel like the presenting was really good. I forget her name, but the woman who does all the sort of intro bits, I liked a lot of her lines and I liked her delivery. I like the fact that the show is sort of taking the piss out of itself a little bit and isn't trying to like be super serious, which I feel like UK combat robot shows should try and keep and take advantage of, because we got to take the piss out of ourselves sometimes. Like, the fact that is being done on MechMania, I think is very good, and I wish they would do that more. Sort of play into the theatrics a little bit, maybe not like post series for Craig Charles, carnage, let the wars begin type thing, but like maybe leaning into that a little bit and leaning into like the fact that we're seeing these 110 kilo machines getting chucked around like it's a sausage in a frying pan. Like, that's like leaning into that and accentuating the point that is what you're trying to advertise, I think would really benefit the show as well. And I'm glad that they're doing that, and I just want them to do it more. For me, in my opinion, that's a good direction for them to go. The format of the show is a lot different to what other shows have been like in the past, but it's not completely impossible to deal with and easy to follow. And the way that they've done it, I thought was quite nice. It didn't feel like it was completely impossible to understand what was going on. I did kind of feel that way with the featherweights. I think maybe more time spent explaining who the individual featherweights were, why they're all fighting in one thing. Like, you sort of get it after episode 2 or 3, but like initially I found myself being quite confused with the featherweights being one of the first things they show, and sort of not sort of explaining like what the featherweights are and what the point of the competition was. I feel like they did explain it, but it didn't feel like it was explained well enough. And I don't know if it was more the sense of like, we want to concentrate on certain other factors to fit into the 1 hour mark, or other reasons, but I think putting some time to just explain what the whole point of this is and what the featherweight competition is in comparison to the heavyweight competition and vice versa and things like that could make the person who has no idea about Robot Wars and it being the first time they've seen any combat robot show, make it easier for them to follow along, basically. Ultimately, a lot of my issues with the show are merely sort of cosmetic and rather decisions they made in the post-production and how they try to portray it, which is ultimately subjective, really. Like, I don't necessarily think it's anything that, like, makes or breaks a show, because the point is you're seeing a Robots Live event. And if you understand what a Robots Live event is, you know, at least in the scene, you understand, like, what you're getting out of it. Like, this is a Robots Live event, and this is it in a televised form. For people who have no idea, I think that's the audience, and I don't know if that's the case. And I'm pretty sure that's the case, because, like, we're trying to get the show back on track. We're trying to get UK combat robots into the zeitgeist again, like it once was. To me, the people who I feel like should be advertised to the most are the people who have fucking no idea about robot combat, or, like, vaguely remember Robot Wars, because they're not going to have the context of vertical spinners and ridiculously sized egg beaters. So they're not going to, like, this, like, predetermined context of, oh, why is this worth my time? This is a sportsman event. Like, it's Robot Combat in the year of our Lord 2025. And the fact that there's a TV show of it, okay, it's on a streaming service that you have to pay a subscription for, but Robot Wars got cancelled again in 2018. How long ago was 2018? 7 fucking years ago. 2018 was a year I cognizantly remember. Like, it's not like a long lost memory. It's a year that I, like, remember very vividly, and it's fucking 7 years ago now. Like, it's crazy to me that it's been that fucking long ago that we've had combat robots on TV in the UK. Ignore BattleBots, okay? I don't care if it's on ITV. Like, that's a separate thing altogether, but, like, combat robots coming from our own turf, that's what I'm talking about. So the fact that it exists at all, and that, like, people still want it to live, and it's being spearheaded by one of the people from Apollo, like, that to me, like, that does make me happy. That does make me happy, and that makes me quite hopeful and joyful that something can give, and we can have something that we can rival BattleBots with. Ultimately, put ourselves in a position where, in all weight classes, we can compete and compare ourselves to the endless well of combat robots in America, where you don't really get people in sheds all the time. I can't remember who made the point. I think it might have been Jack, SFC Jack. Shout out to him, but it might have been someone else as well. So shout out to whoever said it. It was I saw a great point that was being made, which was something along the lines of American combat robots doesn't really put into consideration the teams where it's just one guy in a shed.
Hello there, making an addendum to that point, I also include family teams into that because they are the bread and butter of the UK scene. That is all.
We're a DIY country, and a lot of people will just make things in their sheds. It's part of our DNA as British people, and that culture is going to be a lot different in America. Fuck you! And that culture is going to be a lot different in America. So the fact that that is kind of lost makes me sad a little bit, because it feels like if you compare it to US competitions with a lot more money, the entry level is way too fucking high.
For context, I'm talking about heavyweight events. I'm not talking about NHRL. NHRL definitely has a good entry level.
Yeah, you occasionally get your novelty bots, or the bots that, like, are made on, like, a shoestring, but, like, that's the UK's whole thing, is stuff being made on a shoestring budget by someone who doesn't really know how to build very well. And, like, that is something that is so unfathomably charming, and something that I feel like we should be nurturing more. Your dad in a fucking shed in -6-degree weather making some ridiculous thing, wedge-shaped thing. Like, we need more of that, you know? I find it quite amazing that the spark is still there, especially considering the time frame of me filming this video. Like, combat robots isn't in the best of spots. It hasn't been in the best of spots for a very long time, but the spark somehow is still there, and that is kind of incredible. I just hope that for MechMania's sake it goes somewhere, even if it means doing fucking 15 more seasons of Sportsman. Like, I don't give a shit. I like, for me, the big thing about MechMania at the moment is the fact that someone is trying, the fact that something is being done to mitigate the fact that there's no combat robot show currently being aired at the moment. So that to me is very cool. That being said, if you want to ensure the survival of UK robot combat, get yourself a subscription to Mech Plus. Support the show. Watch it. Let people know about what you want to do. Go to Robots Live. Go to other UK events, because there's lots and lots of events to go to in different weight classes of people who are as passionate about the sport as I am, or more so. You're not going to regret it. Like, you might do if you live down south like me and there's barely any events. Come on, Robots Live. Do what Extreme Robots can't do at the moment and go to fucking Portsmouth. I need my fucking Mountbatten Centre combat robots back. Please. I beg you, I will give you all of my fucking salary. Maybe not, but like, I will support you. I'll buy your fucking hats. Come on, man. Come back to Portsmouth. The kids miss you. I miss you. I am the kids. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. MechMania is good. Combat Robots is good. Whatever criticisms or issues I have are cosmetic and subjective. I can't be mad at a show that exists to ensure the survival of a sport in the UK. I can't be mad at that, no matter what. So that's why you should support it. Give them your fucking money. I'm being a shill. You see what you fucking done to me? Alright, that's it. I don't really have much else to say. If you like the video, subscribe to CJC. If not, subscribe to CJC. If you had absolutely no opinion about this video at all, subscribe to CJC. Yeah.